If you were born in the early to mid 80s, my friends, and it quietly or not so quietly feels like your life may be falling apart, this is not random. You are not having a breakdown. You are in your Uranus opposition, and your body is just trying to wake you up. Well, hey there, I'm Tara Kinden, founder of Bioenergetic Somatics. My work lives beautifully at the intersection of cosmic rhythm, somatic intelligence, sound, and frequency healing. And honestly, just to put it simply, I help women understand what they're feeling, like how to actually harness all this aliveness they're feeling in their bodies. Uranus is not chaos for the sake of chaos. Uranus is about awakening. Uranus is about disruption. It's about being in service of disruption and liberation. It's also about breaking apart the things that maybe have become too tight, too performative, that feel a little too small or too fake. Saturn builds structures for us in our lives where Uranus kind of comes in and slaps that all away and says, well, is this actually yours? Do you like the life that you're living in, or are you ready for a little change? And that's what he does. So if you notice today, I'm filming beside the ocean because when I was in my Uranus opposition, I was tightly confined to a city and I was liking my life, but I was like questioning everything. So Uranus helped me break free from those chains that confined me and move me beside the ocean. And I'll be forever grateful for that move. Okay, so let's talk about our guy Saturn, because Saturn he brings in these years about learning, like how do we survive in the world? How can we become more responsible? How do we build something? How to carry weight? That's his vibe. He wants structure. He wants to really help us figure out like what needs to be done and actually do it. But for a lot of women, that came with conditioning. Be a good girl, be agreeable, be impressive, don't be too much, work harder, prove yourself. So Saturn becomes more than structure. It really becomes about self-suppression in the name of like approval and safety. It really is about permission with him. And the real question we need to kind of sit with is, who did you become in order to survive, to succeed, or maybe to be loved? Okay, lean in, because this part really matters. So women who are born in the late 70s or the early to mid 80s, we're born into hustle culture. And we watched women try to do absolutely everything, how to be nurturing, how to be high performing, to be maternal, but also to be ambitious, to be everything to everyone. And that creates a pattern, a wicked pattern, where rest feels lazy, softness feels unsafe, productivity becomes the identity, and pushing becomes normal. So no surprise here that our systems have no clue how to slow down. And this isn't just a mindset, this is nervous system conditioning. If you think about it, when you're in that pre-gestation phase in your mom's womb, if she's feeling all of these feels, you're baking in the waters, or you're swimming in the waters of this hustle culture mentality, and that doesn't go away the moment you're born. Okay, so what happens? You build this pretty little box, you jam yourself into it. It's a box where you are liked and you are successful, a box where you hold it all together. Everything is kind of contained in this nice, pretty little space, and you get very freaking good at living here. But then Uranus comes in and gives you the cosmic smackdown. We call it like the cosmic 2x4. That moment where you get hit in the head and it says, wow, look at this life that I've built. How did I get here? Maybe who was I trying to please to get here? And why does this not feel like me anymore? Because for some of us, we had to cut off parts of ourselves to fit into this pretty little box, and your body can no longer contain the urge to stay in the box because it feels so uncomfortable. Like, for example, if you are a highly creative person and you had to shut that off because you were told, well, you can't be creative and actually earn an income. So you cut off this part of yourself to fit into that place because you obviously don't want to be broke and destitute or a starving artist. So you cut that part off to fit into this box. This is just an example of how that can show up. And when this Uranus opposition happens, we all start to look at the areas where we've made these compromises. And so why does this feel so intense? Why does it feel so restless, or you feel so irritated, or maybe bored, maybe exhausted, or resentment? There's just this deep desire to change everything because Uranus is reactivating to what you've shut down. It's not about instability. This is about really bringing into awareness what you can no longer pretend is okay. And Uranus is electrical, so this can really show up in our nervous systems, and our nervous systems can feel a sense of this wired but tired, where we're unable to settle down. We feel just always overstimulated and we're not getting full night sleeps. This is not about anxiety alone. This can be activation without direction, i.e. like the system is charged up, but it has nowhere to move yet, especially if you don't have any creative outlets. And by creativity, I don't mean just like painting and drawing and art. I mean like creatively moving your body. So this is where some people will get obsessed with working out or find new outlets and ways to discharge some of the built up charge that they have. And so what happens if you don't discharge this energy? Well, this is where anger comes in. A sense of frustration or that irritation or that resentment. I mean, this matters because women have been taught that anger is wrong, but here, anger is a straight up signal. Like if you have spent years overriding yourself, that energy never disappears. It builds up, and at some point it starts to come back out. And that's the feeling of like, I can't do this anymore. So people just, explode a little bit. Cosmic messages are generally never lost on me. It started to snow, so I needed to move inside. Anyways, Prometheus steals fire, awakening truth and consciousness. His punishment is tied to the liver. It gets eaten and regenerates over and over again, and that's the cycle. Awakening, processing, and regeneration. And so what's funny is that it's freezing outside and it started to snow. I had to come into the greenhouse to stay out of the snow. And we're talking about fire and Prometheus. And you can research his mythology. It's quite fascinating, actually. And another way that all of this anger, resentment can show up in the body is in stagnation, right? Where we feel a sense of heaviness or sluggishness, like nothing is moving forward, because when there has been too much that has been held back, the system gets backed up. The body is trying to clear what the life has still been holding onto and maybe even not ready to fully let go of. Okay, anxiety and excitement are basically the same frequency. Same energy, different interpretation. So your body is activated, but your mind is reading it as a danger moment. Because if it's not danger, then something needs to change. And this is where Uranus comes in to help us make the changes that sometimes we're not always ready to make. And here's a place where a lot of women can get stuck. So instead of listening to that change or being urged by the change, they escape, they numb out with alcohol or food, overworking, distraction of any kind, overspending, you name it, it's there. Anything to really avoid this signal, because when we face it, we have to change something. And you cannot move into a new version of your life while still staying in the cycles that have kept you stuck and quote unquote safe for so long. And so the question comes down to like, well, what is Uranus asking us to do? He's not asking for you to go and create insane chaos. He's just asking for truth. Like, what if you stopped performing? What if you stopped proving? What if you just started being honest with yourself? You don't need to have a full-on plan, but it really is about making that first move and moving towards what feels electric, what feels alive, what brings back a sense of pleasure and playfulness in your life that kind of breaks you free from the chains that you have maybe been confined with, or breaking free from the box and looking at the parts of yourself yourself that you were once really thrilled by. If this was your creative streak, or if this was maybe you used to sing more, or you used to go out and do certain things, it just gave you a sense of confidence and pleasure and fun, but that may feel a little frivolous. That's what he's looking for you to go after. And now if you're watching this and you're like, I'm not in my Uranus opposition, but I want to add a new layer and context, because Uranus is going to be moving out of Taurus and moving into Gemini. This is about the mind. This is where our beliefs change, our thinking changes, our communication changes. You may even start saying things you have never said before. Relationships are going to begin to shift. The way we work, the way we think, the way we communicate, the way that we move as a community is going to evolve. Even the way we make money is going to change. How we do commerce is going to change. And of course, when Gemini is involved, everything is quick, it's witty, it's fast, it's more playful, it's more curious, and it's going to speed everything up. Now, I did a full video on Uranus moving into Gemini, which I will link below and here somewhere above. You can go and watch that one because it takes you in depth to like, what could you possibly be feeling as it moves into Gemini? Because it's going to be kind of a big deal. It's going to be very different than what we've been feeling as he's been moving through Taurus, kind of shaking up all of our structures. And so even my folks who are like, I didn't know anything about a Uranus opposition, I must have missed it. Everyone is going to engage in this energy. We are all being pulled into it now. This is not just personal things that are changing. This is a big collective change. And at some point in our lives, we hit this moment. Some of you are there now. You know, now that you can't unsee what you've seen, you can't unfeel what you feel, you're moving forward, and now you have a choice. You've been broken free from the matrix, if you will. And so you're stepping forward in a new direction. Whether you know it or not, you're feeling that change. You're feeling that shift. We're all feeling it. The world is no longer what it once was. So as we're experiencing this, bringing in more curiosity, bringing in more play is going to make this transition much smoother for you, especially if you are struggling right now. So it's just about looking at the areas that could maybe be more exciting to chase down, or places where you thought you would go, but you never went. Maybe now's the time you look at that and liberate yourself. Okay, and because we were talking about cosmic moments, I'm going to take you on a little story time. So I recently came across this new show. It's called Scarpetta. Nicole Kidman is in it, and it's about a chief medical examiner. The show itself is literally about death. It has nothing to do with what I found, but it was the synchronicities. So this is where Uranus does come in and gives us these synchronistic moments, these serendipitous moments. We're like, it's the things that make us go, So when I saw this name, Scarpetta, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, how do I know that name? Like, I actually have no clue. And then I looked down, and at Christmas time, I took a box out of the closet. We made a move in 2021 to a really small spot, and we were only going to be here temporarily. So we jammed what we could in the closets because it really isn't big enough for us, but we jammed the closets full. So everything's been in the closet since. I mean, it's 2026 now, so it's been a little while. And I'm like, I got to pull some of that stuff out because I needed to hide away some Christmas gifts so that people wouldn't find them. And that's what I did. So I took these boxes out, I set them on the floor in the bedroom. And I was like, watching this show, Scarpetta, with Nicole Kidman in it, I looked down at the floor and there is this box that I took out at Christmas and I still haven't put back in. Okay. And it says Scarpetta on the side of it. I was like, what? Okay, now I'm curious. So I go to ChatGPT, of course, and I'm like, what does Scarpetta mean? And it's like this beautiful Italian meal with pasta and sauce, and it's so delicious that you would never throw that sauce out. So you grab a piece of bread and you soak up every last flavor, and it's delicious, right? It's about soaking up these moments. When I interpret it for myself, I'm like, okay, what's in that box? Now you're curious. So I open up the box and there is these old wine glasses, champagne glasses, just things that are like not going to fit in my cupboard here. And I'm like, oh, how interesting. I put pleasure and fun in a box and I sealed it up, and I haven't opened it for 5 years because we are in a place that I wouldn't really have a ton of people over, or I wouldn't have dinner party like I would before. And why is that? So it was really interesting because sometimes we need to open up the things that we packed away to really look at them and look at where we are at in our lives and say, is this something I'm ready to bring out now, regardless of my station or what my life is like at this moment? Like, could I still bring small amounts of pleasure and fun and joy into my life instead of being so Saturnian and working and grinding? So just for those of you who are like, oh, how do I get rid of this hustle grind culture? When you swim in those waters for so long, years, we're talking like years, 20 years maybe, you don't just unpack that overnight. It takes time to decondition from that energy, but small moments of bliss and pleasure can make all the difference. Hence the greenhouse. I spend time gardening, which helps connect me to pleasure and fun. So there's a little story time for you to help you maybe look at your life to see like, what boxes do I need to unpack, or what parts of myself do I miss and I'd like to bring back? And if you want to understand even more about how this Uranus and Gemini may affect you more personally, you can watch the video I mentioned. It's down below. Or we can go deeper into your personal chart to see where is Uranus and Gemini impacting you, and where is your natal Uranus to see what is going on. But in the meantime, pay close attention to your body's signals. It already knows what it wants for you and for you to do. And always remember who you came here to be. Until next time, my friends, take care.